Hi guys, welcome to Forest Classroom. Today, we are going to talk about the meaning of sejarah. Get ready to go on a journey back in time to chapter 1 of Sejarah, where we will discover amazing stories from the past. Let's start by defining what sejarah is. The word sejarah means the events that happened in the past. In Malay language, the word sejarah came from the Arabic word syajaratun, which means trees. You might be wondering, what do trees have to do with sejarah? Well, just like trees have roots that go deep into the ground, sejarah has its roots in the past. Sejarah is also related to silsilah, riwayat, keturunan, and asal-usul. Silsilah means tracing your family history and learn about your ancestors. Riwayat is like a special book that tells us stories about things that happened a long time ago. They help us learn about important events like battles or discoveries. Keturunan refers to the people who are related to each other in a family, like your grandparents, parents, and you. It's like a family tree that shows how people are connected to each other. Last but not least, asal-usul means the start of something. According to Kamus Dewan, sejarah is associated with asal-usul and silsilah. It also refers to events that happened in the past, the study or knowledge of past events. And in English, the word history means the stories about people. The word came from the Greek language historia, which means investigation. All in all, the definitions of sejarah are similar. It basically means the events that happened in the past. Now, we will move on to the second part of chapter 1. Have you ever wondered what Sejarawan have to say about the meaning of sejarah? Let's find out together with these 5 famous sejarawan. First, we have Herodotus. Let's see what he said about sejarah.
Pengertian tentang tindakan manusia yang penting dan mengagumkan serta sebab berlakunya sesuatu peristiwa.
In simple terms, sejarah tells us about important things that people did in the past and why they did them. It helps us understand the actions and reasons behind them. Next, we have E.H. Carr.
Suatu proses interaksi berterusan antara ahli sejarah dengan fakta-faktanya, suatu dialog yang tidak berkesudahan antara masa kini dengan masa lampau.
The first part of the sentence means that sejarah is the interaction between sejarawan and the truth. And the second part of the sentence means it is also the conversation between the past and now. And then, we have Ibnu Khaldun. He said that
Sejarah membicarakan perkara tentang masyarakat manusia, peradaban dunia dan perubahan-perubahan yang berlaku pada sifat-sifat masyarakat itu.
This means sejarah discusses matters related to human society, world civilizations, and the important changes that took place in society. Next, we have Koo K. Kim. Let's see what his view on sejarah was.
Sejarah merujuk kepada apa-apa yang pernah atau sudah berlaku. Sejarah mendorong kita lebih memahami apa-apa yang berlaku pada masa kini, di samping menjamin kesilapan yang sama tidak berulang. Sejarah ialah ibu kepada semua bidang.
According to him, sejarah is the event that have happened or already happened. He also said that sejarah allows us to understand current events and reminds us to not make the same mistakes. Lastly, we have Muhammad Yusuf. He stated that
Sejarah ialah masa lalu itu sendiri. Sejarah juga merupakan catatan ataupun rekod tentang sesuatu peristiwa yang berlaku pada suatu masa yang lalu.
this means sejarah is the past itself. Sejarah is also a record or documentation of an event that happened at some point in the past. In short, sejarah is like a big interactive storybook that tells us about the past, helps us understand the present, and teaches us lessons for the future. Now, we will move on to the third part of Chapter 1. When we are learning about sejarah, there are two terms that we need to know: masa silam and rang. The term masa silam means a series of past events that have happened and are studied based on an order called chronology. Chronology means a sequence of events that happen in a specific order from the beginning to the end and move along a straight line. It's like when you are telling a story, you will tell from the beginning to the end in the right order. Time can be divided into two main categories. The first category is using years. We have decade, which means 10 years, abad, which means 100 years, and alaf, which means 1000 years. The second category is using eras or zaman. We have zaman sebelum Masehi, which means zaman before the birth of Nabi Isa, and Masehi, which means zaman after the birth of Nabi Isa. Next, the rang or space in sejarah allows sejarawan to divide their writings into three themes, such as economy, which is related to money and jobs; politics, which is about how people make decisions and govern a country; and social, which is about how people lived and how they interacted with each other. This helps them to do research and write about each topic separately. Let's look at one example about Kesultanan Melayu Melaka. Long ago in Malaysia, Melaka was ruled by a sultan. The streets were filled with wonderful smells of spices and the sound of people bargaining. Then, foreign forces came and brought new ideas and cultures. They fought for power. Eventually, Malaysia became independent. It was a very exciting time, and this changed Malaysia's sejarah forever. Now, while all these events might seem not related at first, sejarawan have found a way to organize them into different themes, such as politics, economy, and social. It's like a puzzle that they put together to help us understand the bigger picture of Malaysia's sejarah. Now, you might be curious, where does sejarawan get their information? There are two sources that they use. The first one is sumber primer, and the second one is sumber sekunder. Let's talk about sumber primer first. Sumber primer are like hidden treasures from the past. They are original things that haven't been changed or explained by anyone else. They can be anything from old bones to letters written a long time ago. Let's look at this picture. Do you know what is this? That's right. This is a fossil of a dinosaur. And this is one example of sumber primer. Next, sumber sekunder are materials that have been made easier to understand and are available for everyone to read. They include books, articles, and encyclopedias. For example, you can learn about the body structures of dinosaurs in an encyclopedia. These sources help us get a better understanding of sejarah by showing us the bigger picture of what happened. So, whether you are looking for old things or reading a sejarah book, both sumber primer and sumber sekunder are important for understanding the past. Now, we will move on to penyelidikan dalam sejarah. That's a big word, huh? What we are going to talk about in this part is the three different ways to do research on sejarah. The first one is kaedah bertulis, or the written approach. The second one is kaedah lisan, or the verbal approach. And the last one is kaedah archaeology, or the archaeological approach. Let's take a closer look at each one. First, we will look at kaedah bertulis. This is a way to study events by looking at information that is carved or written on different sources. In Southeast Asia, we can discover different kinds of written records. These can be ancient writings found in caves, or even personal diaries written by people long ago. These written records help us learn about the past and understand what happened during different times. For example, you found some ancient writings in a cave. You can use different sources to interpret them and use this information to study about the lives back then. Next, we have kaedah lisan. This one is all about talking to people who have the experience in historical events. There are 3 levels. First, we choose a focus and ask them questions. Next, we record their answers and then put them all into words. For example, let's say the topic is independence of Malaysia. First, you can prepare questions like, when did it happen? Or, what changes happened after independence? Then, you can talk to people who lived during that time. After that, you can listen to the recording or read your notes to understand what the person shared. Finally, we have kaedah archaeology. Remember we talked about the fossils of a dinosaur? Sounds interesting, right? Do you know who works to find these fossils? That's right, it's archaeologists. So, what do they actually do? They look for historical information by studying old objects that have been left behind. It's like going on a treasure hunt. We dig and explore, looking for clues from historical objects like fossils and pottery. So, there you have it. That's how we get information from the past. Whether you are reading written records, talking to people, or digging up objects, each kaedah helps us see and understand what life was like a long time ago. So, what do we do with the information that we gather? We interpret it. This is important for everyone who wants to learn sejarah. Tafsiran dalam sejarah means explaining a certain historical fact using important sources. When we learn about sejarah, we are trying to piece together the puzzle of what really happened. But sometimes there are different interpretations of the same event. So, why are there different interpretations for the same event? Well, it's like looking at a painting from different angles. Depending on where you are standing, you might see different details or colors. The same thing goes for tafsiran dalam sejarah. People might choose different sources, have different opinions, follow different ideologies, or have different reasons for writing. But why is interpretation important? We need to understand things in different ways to tell stories that are right and true. Remember, different people can have different ideas about the same thing. Learning about sejarah helps us be fair and think carefully. We don't believe everything we hear right away. Instead, we ask questions and think about the information we find. For example, let's look at Tok Janggut in Pasir Puteh, Kelantan. A local sejarawan might see Tok Janggut as a brave person who fought against the British policy of taxing land. On the other hand, a sejarawan from the West might see him as a rebel because he did not follow the British policy. Tafsiran dalam sejarah is like looking at sejarah from different angles. And it's important because it makes us more critical and open-minded. We kept talking about sejarah up until this point. So, why do we learn sejarah? Why do you take up Sejarah in your school? Have you thought about it? Let me tell you the 6 reasons why it is important to learn about Sejarah. First, Sejarah helps us know about our asal-usul. It's like going on a journey to the past to learn about where we came from, our family roots, and the culture and traditions that make us special. Next, mengambil iktibar. This means Sejarah brings lessons and wisdom from past events. Those who do not study Sejarah may end up repeating past mistakes. For example, in our country, we have different kaum or ethnic groups. By studying Sejarah, we can learn about the importance of respecting and understanding different cultures. We can learn from the mistakes of the past, such as conflicts or discrimination, and work towards promoting harmony and unity among different groups. The third reason is mengukuhkan perpaduan. Sejarah helps us to create harmony and get along with different people in our country. It also teaches us how to keep our special customs and traditions alive. Next, memupuk patriotisme. This means Sejarah teaches us to appreciate the heritage of our country, which can be passed down to future generations. It also helps us feel a deep love for our country. The fifth reason is membangunkan negara dan bangsa. By learning about Sejarah, we can keep the amazing things our country has achieved. We can also understand how our culture has changed over time. This knowledge helps us make our country and people even better in the future. Lastly, mengaplikasikan kemahiran pemikiran sejarah. This means Sejarah can help us become smarter. We can think carefully and understand things better. It's like sharpening our minds. We can also learn to care about other people and see things from different points of view. That's important because it helps us be kind and understand people better. So, there you have it, class. The importance of Sejarah is not just about memorizing dates and names. It's about going on a journey, learning from the past and becoming the best version of ourselves. Let's keep exploring and discovering all the awesome things that Sejarah has to offer. Hope you enjoyed this lesson and that you have learned something new. Remember to share this video with your buddies and classmates. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more awesome adventures.